Collaboration is the cornerstone to innovation. It's also the cornerstone to ideation and invention. And if you've ever been tagged a mile deep in a Slack thread, it's also an amazing source of irritation as well. So it's clear collaboration can mean a lot of different things to different people. Think about the last time that you were asked to collaborate with someone. Are you full of hope and optimism? Maybe a little bit of anxiety and dread? Because collaboration can mean a lot of different things depending on the context and the teams that you're working with. For those of us who have been a part of the Agile software community for a while, we've even really tried to explain what collaboration is. This is an amazing book by the late Gene Taveka that goes into exactly that, understanding how these software teams come together in the first place and achieve their goals. So for the purposes of today's talk, we'll be talking about collaboration in the sense of how teams are coming together, the team dynamics, how people are coming together to achieve that common goal. Even when I mention the word team, outside of this conference, you usually have this image in your head, people coming together, feeling good about it, hugging people if you wanted to in the first place. But the reality is, this is a little bit more what our teams look like today. Coming together, different backgrounds, trying to solve problems, and maybe there's a few more screens on this depending on where you're at in your journey from transitioning from remote to hybrid work. And it's important because as those team members come back, we want to think about that shared goal, right? Why were we hired to accomplish this in the first place? And how do we bring that together? But now, imagine you're meeting a lot of new people for the first time, right? You're meeting your new team members and you're hoping you can accomplish those goals. Well, and you still want to bring it back into understanding that shared goal. But now you also spend a little bit more time trying to understand, sniff each other out a little bit, and try to understand how to work with team members, in addition to accomplishing the goals that you were set out to accomplish in the first place. But now what happens when you have teams and teams of new people coming together for the very first time? You're going to need something a little bit more than a shared goal. You're going to need shared context across those teams because your goals will change, right? Some of them will be eliminated, some are not important anymore, and others, well, they increase in scope. Now those are your goals that you want to accomplish and go after net new markets and bring in, everything else that you can bring to bear as organizations come together. So that's a little bit what happened to us within JumpCloud. So if you're not familiar with JumpCloud, or if this is the first time you're hearing about us, we are a global cloud directory. So we're managing all of your user identities, devices, access into all of your different IT resources, including the Atlassian suite and all the other applications that you need to see fit. And so we are very fortunate because we're able to bring to bear a lot of the different technologies that allow organizations to work fully remote. So as you can imagine, the last couple of years have accelerated that transition, and certainly one of the largest, work style migrations that we've seen in human history. And so we were very fortunate to be able to accelerate with it. And we're also very fortunate that Atlassian was able to participate in the last round of funding and kind of giving us a boost to help us execute on that vision and double down on a lot of those features to help our customers kind of grapple with new ways of working with each other, new ways of collaborating with each other. And so a couple interesting things happened when we did that. First, marketing team got a nice bump in budget, which is always a bonus. But more importantly, we put our sights towards bringing in as many talented people into the organization as possible, hiring as quickly as we can to help execute on that vision, but then also help deliver a lot of the features that we know that would help enable better lifestyles of work and allow people to work wherever they are. And so very quickly over the course of a couple quarters, we went from an organization of 200 people to now over 600 people, and with plans to grow beyond 1,000 people by the end of this year. But something also very interesting happened. When we did that, there's a certain point in time in the organization where a lot of the people you were interacting with, well, they haven't been in JumpCloud in quite a long time, right? So over 60% of employees were with us for less than 6 months. And so now kind of all of those different team dynamics that you're trying to understand, helping teams collaborate in the first place, becomes a little bit more interesting. So this is one of my favorite slides we are recently introducing our brand new data services team in the company All Hands. And so when you think about the roles and responsibility that this team has, it's pretty large. So you're thinking about all the authentications driven by identities, devices, making sure that we can represent that data back into our customers so that way they, one, know what's happening across their organization, two, help them report out on all the things that might be happening. But my favorite part about this whole slide was that the median tenure was only 3 months for this brand new team and all the responsibilities that they have in order to combine different aspects of our platform into one. So now, not only are you trying to suss out and kind of figure out how to work with individual team members, but you're also trying to make sure that you can work alongside other teams that are bringing to bear, making sure that we can all walk within a straight line. Or to borrow the analogy from the keynote earlier, making sure that when we're in the canoe together, that we're all paddling in the same direction and heading in the same place. One other interesting thing to note and kind of how our organization is set up and structured is we're a product-led growth organization. So we've put a lot of time and attention in seeing how we can deliver all those features that help our customers kind of work wherever they are. But a lot of our focus too is making sure that within our business model, people can come in, fall in love with it, make sure that's really easy to do. So that's the great side. But on the flip side, you got to think about, well, that's a lot of features that we need to deliver. And so, for example, last year, we were able to deliver over 115 customer-facing features. And when you think about it, and if you strip out kind of weekends, holidays, and other things, that's a brand new feature that our team now needs to grapple with every 2 to 3 days. Kind of understand and grab that context and making sense of how that ties into everything else that we can execute within our vision. So it's a little bit of a crazy sauce situation when you think about it. And so here's a live snapshot of our product team, making sure that they have that value stream and are delivering all that great stuff to our customers. And here's everyone else within the organization, trying to make sense of it all. You know, how can we bring all that context into those teams at the right time? But we're here. We made it. We're here to tell the story, right? We survived. So how did we deliver and enable all of those features at such a high velocity as the organization's continuing to grow and bringing in net new teams and team members on a daily basis? Well, I want to bring it back to this notion of having that shared context. Because again, that's very important as you have everyone coming together into the fold for the first time and making sure that as goals change, you can readjust into the net new context that you might need. Because as you can imagine, there's some new features that you want to have as you're trying to figure out how you can enable remote and now hybrid work settings for everyone globally. So we had a new mission. We needed to enable everyone. And not only everyone kind of coming into the organization and making sure that they are set up for success from the get-go, but also a few of our veterans, right, that have been with us for a while and are able to string together not only what's coming, but how does that tie back to our overarching strategy? So we had a shared Confluence space. I know it's probably not earth-shattering, right? It was in the name of the talk, and hopefully I'm not leading the witness too much. But I think what's interesting there is that wasn't always the case. So I want to spend a couple minutes kind of describing our path and our journey and how we enabled that across our global team. So the fortunate news, and I think, you know, for a lot of organizations, and I don't think we're unique in the sense where, you know, our adoption of Confluence and the Atlassian suite in general really started within our product engineering, UI, UX teams, PECs, as we affectionately call it. And within that, there's a lot of information that goes, right? Not only collaboration within teams, but making sure that, you know, where we're going in terms of organization, there's a lot of great stuff that lives within that. But not everyone had access to it. And so we quickly realized that as the rest of the company begins to scale and grow, sales, marketing, business information system teams, they don't actually have access to that information. And if we kept on this path, there would be an increasing knowledge gap that would, you know, essentially silo us before we had a chance to scale in the first place. So we needed to take action. We needed to allow access into everything that we could as you're joining the organization. The good news is, being global cloud directory that we are, well, we just turn it on for folks. right? Now you're able to get into and understand all the different things within that, which is great. And actually, we took it one step further because the way that we were architected and designed, we're actually able to leverage the SCIM protocol, which if you're not familiar, kind of managing that identity provisioning in and out of applications. So now as you're a new employee coming onto JumpCloud, you get dropship MacBook, open up the lid, connect to the network, but actually only entering in one credential, one JumpCloud credential, and that gives you access to everything else. And when we're doing that, we're also provisioning identities into the Atlassian cloud, as well as all the other applications you need as a new employee. So great onboarding experience, you get going, and you say, well, that's great, but access doesn't equal context. Just because I get all this information doesn't mean I know what to do with it, right? Just because I know the front door doesn't mean I know how to find my way all the way through the casino floor and into the room and kind of getting to where we need to be, right? And have that context and why we need to be there. Because again, remember, we are shipping a feature every 2 to 3 days. So we need the ability to provide that context in a very quick and efficient way. So now we kind of had a new mission. Now we needed to take this image of our product team and make sure that we can continue and actually expand the value delivery that we have to our customers. But we needed to enable everyone else within the organization to feel empowered to deliver that to our customers, partners, and everyone else that we're touching within our JumpCloud ecosystem. So what we needed to do is we needed to take our crazy sauce situation, we needed to bottle up, transform it, and turn it into our secret sauce. And when we were thinking about how to do that, we needed to do it in a very simple way. Because it's that simplicity that allows it to scale within teams. Everyone's joining the organization's busy, they have new objectives, problems to solve, things that they need to do. So it needed to be so simple that it allowed it to scale across teams. Well, we actually needed to take one step further. It needed to be so simple that you could steal it. Steal the idea, implement it, because again, you might be joining a team, you might be transitioning over into new teams. So how can we get a quick adoption of a brand new framework that's super easy to implement? So with that, I'd like you to invite you in kind of the back of our kitchen and understand how we put together our secret sauce. It's super simple, right? 3 ingredients in terms of how we're thinking about our product enablement. Very similar to the Big Mac sauce of, mustard, ketchup, and mayo. Sorry if that was a secret for everyone, right? But it's only kind of those 3 ingredients. So how we're thinking about things in our process is what's cooking, what's coming, and what's here. First, what's cooking? Let's go head back into the kitchen. And for us, when we're thinking about a what's cooking space, it allows people to come together, yes, collaborate, if you will, but it serves as that discovery and kind of pathfinding mode. It allows people to be inventive, and kind of curious, and pulls people in. And just like your own kitchen at home, you have some people come by, taste a few things, see how you're, cooking, up-level your skill set a little bit. But the goal here is to provide enough information for those pathfinding teams to really say, yes, I'm interested in that. I want to watch this space. I want to subscribe to those updates so that way, as those teams continue to develop and bring those ideas and features to fruition, that I know about it, right? Because there might be dependencies. There might be nuances in terms of my own team, in terms of how I can deliver on my own objectives, and making sure that I'm bringing those into the fold. The next piece, what's coming, right? As things are coming out, you want to make sure that people know about it. And so what we did is we changed the format a little bit. We wanted to make it super easy for everyone within the organization to digest exactly what's that. So here's a quick snapshot of an email that you might see on given day, every 2 to 3 days when a new feature is coming out. So first we'll have the feature name, kind of a screenshot where it is within the UI, and we'll start, well, what is it, right? What are we building and delivering? And the more important piece is, what's that short story behind it? Why are we doing this in the first place? Is this a net new feature that will lead to new revenue streams, maybe entering a new market? Or is this something that our customers have been requesting for a while and we're just so excited to finally get it out and make their lives a little bit easier? And the next piece related to that, right? How timely should those conversations be? When are customers going to see it? When should I tee that up with my account managers, customer success teams, and everyone else that might be involved? The next, who's working on this, right? If I have questions, where do I go? And there's probably a good chance that there's going to be a lot of net new names that you haven't seen before, right? Because they've recently joined, or there's a good chance that you yourself have recently joined JumpCloud and you're not quite sure where to go. But before you do that, we want to provide an opportunity for a raft load more of information. And what we mean by a raft load is allowing people to kind of take that journey with us. So if you have questions and you really want to go deep and this hits a passion point for you, it allows you to understand FAQs, additional resources, what are the nuances, dependencies, all the interesting things that you need to know that might impact your team, your customers, or anyone else that's kind of within your sphere of collaboration influence, if you will. So with that, we're able to span everything from, oh, that's great, things are coming out, all the way into, wow, this might have a really impact in how I'm driving my day-to-day role. And then finally, the most obvious of them all, but also one of the most important, is what's here. It always serves as a good reminder to folks to understand what's coming. Give them the opportunity to be the hero in the conversations. Hey, we just delivered an amazing piece of value. Have you heard about it? Let's dive into that. But then also it serves as a reminder, right? If there's a lot of things coming out, it's always helpful to repeat that within the folks and making sure that they have the opportunity to bring that up in their best judgment. So our real simple sauce ingredient list, right, is thinking about what's cooking, what's coming, and what's here. So what did we find when we do all that? Well, the first great news is we had a lot less Slacks come in, right? A lot less salespeople asking, hey, where are things? Is this still on the roadmap? Where might this be? And that was really helpful. And so not only did we drive more traffic back into our Confluence pages and we can redirect folks in a really nice way, but Confluence itself actually grew more organically across team structures. Because again, we unlocked it for the rest of the organization. And so now you have more people outside of product and engineering kind of continuing to contribute to that, right? As it feeds into the rest of our go-to-market motion. Quick example of that, this is our product marketing team, right? We had a little bit of fun with our page, but now we're starting to centralize all of those key assets. Competitive information, battle cards, you want to see what else is coming in and how we are talking and interacting with our marketing colleagues as well as our sales. Making sure that we have a central location for everyone, regardless of where they are within the organization and regardless of where they are globally. The next piece we found, which, kind of a silver lining to all of this, is it allowed us to make quicker decisions, right? All the information is now in one place. You spend a little bit less time hunting along, but now you're able to have much more visibility into the rest of the organization, what teams are working on. So now you can make decisions a little bit quicker, right? Because you have a lot more context already coming at you. And then the best part is we were able to kind of stop hugging each other. Not so much in the affectionate sense. So I'll be a little bit more specific in what I mean by hugs here, is we're able to stop making huge, unrealistic goal setting. Because now we know what the teams are working on and we have a better sense of the capacity and everything else that might be impacting their world. And the last piece is everything kind of felt like a digging exercise. This is one of those notions, and I don't know if you've experienced this in your own organization, but questions are cheap and answers are expensive for the teams to come back with that. And so in making this transition and thinking about reorienting our communication structure within the organization, we're able to turn this much more into a portal mentality, right? You're able to quickly hop in, hop out, meet and collaborate with folks, but then also grabbing context along the way. So now everything's at your fingertips in order to understand what's truly happening within the organization and where you need to go if you feel stuck. So there's a little bit more to it than that, right? As everything else, there's much more to a restaurant than just the kitchen in the back. We want to make sure that it comes into the fold as all good things do. So we're a highly objectives-driven organization. So that kind of is our key pillar in how we are thinking about things. But then we're also wiring in much more of the Atlassian suite, if you will, to enable our teams, right? Across Jira, leveraging our status page in new and interesting ways, and also assist even for our internal IT teams. So here's a great snapshot, right? Some stealing in action, which I love to see, right? So what's cooking, coming across multiple different teams as they're contributing to the product and the platform vision. But what's better than that is now all you have is it's tied into our objectives, right? And everything's kind of wired in technically so that you have that additional context when you're diving into it. So you're able to dive into the Jira tickets, epics, and even Google Docs, other pieces of information to provide that type of experience. That way, when you have those questions, well, they're pretty cheap to answer as well. And we're also thinking about new and different ways to kind of leverage our status page. So while it's always great to have a green status page to show the uptime, what we begin to do is actually break that down across the different platforms because we have multiple different customers leveraging us for different use cases, different pieces of technology, Because when you think about spanning from identity to devices to all the different data and compliance in between, there's quite the gambit. But it also serves as an amazing communication medium with customers, right? So even in addition to maintenance, downtime, and kind of the usuals, it's also keeping them aware of what's happening within the organization and pushing those live updates. So that way you can have, a little bit more of collaboration with your customers in a new and different, interesting way. And then finally, bringing in and leveraging help within our own internal IT teams. When we were thinking about this, as employees join the organization, we try to set them up for success as best as we can, as any organization does. But like anything else, lives, people change, right? You might be moving from an individual contributor, now you're a hiring manager, now you're senior manager, and think about that progress as you go, right? Your permissions, your roles change, your levels of access adjust to that. So we're leveraging help internally to making sure that we can do that as well. And I've also put in a ticket with Gabby here, see if we can get a couple extra tickets for the bash tonight. But it's this simplicity that allows us to scale, especially as we're thinking about new communication structures within the organization. And so it's my hope that it's so simple that you are able to steal it, bring it into your fold of your organization, and rethink about and kind of challenge your existing communication structures. And so it's with that I want to give you our secret sauce. And so for those who are familiar with the Sriracha brand, kind of going through that. And if you're not, we're going to have a great Q&A because I have a lot to fill you in on. But even if you're familiar with the Sriracha brand, what you might not realize is they did a very interesting thing, big marketing no-no. So back in 2015, they actually let their logo and trademark lapse. Very iconic brand. Why would you do that? And so now all of a sudden you have some knockoffs, t-shirts, keychains, all the gambit. But and at that time, I think they had about $80 million in revenue, just kind of give you a sense of size. Some researchers and journalists came back a couple of years later and say, hey, what was the impact of that? Because we haven't seen that in a while. And what they found is they almost doubled. So they now had over $150 million in revenue, and they now make up more than 2% of all condiment sales. So it's a pretty aggressive growth. But when you think about it, they were able to do that because they literally gave away their secret sauce. So in conclusion, I want to leave you with ours. So what's cooking? Making sure that you have this space for teams to innovate, discover, and yes, even collaborate and come together, even if it gives you a little bit of anxiety. But you want to trigger that curiosity within the teams, making sure that they can subscribe to those pages, understand what's going on. So now they have a good sense of, as things are unfolding in real time, they have that context, whether they're in person or not. Next, what's coming? Right? Making sure that you're diligent in how you're announcing and communicating internally within the rest of the organization. What is it? More importantly, why did we do that? Why are we doing this to our customers? When will they see it? When can we have those meaningful conversations with them? Who's working on this, right? Who are the names and people that I need to track down if I have more information? But before I even do that, I want to provide an opportunity. If they want to take that journey, here's all the additional resources, dependencies, things that you need to be thinking about as that comes out. Then finally, what's here, right? It's an opportunity. Give them, it's a reminder to remember. Making sure that, yeah, you already told them that it's coming out before, but making sure that it's front of mind. And also now arming everyone that they need with additional resources. So everyone feels confident when having those conversations, customers, partners, and everyone else that you're working with within your own ecosystem. So with that, I want to thank you so much for your time and attention here.